get to say that. You don't get to tell. Dude, that's exactly what they want you to think, alright? It's not about me. If I then pull me on point. Shut the fuck up. Yeah? You're looking good, man. Yeah. I like it, yeah. I've been alright. I don't know. I feel like disconnected from my emotions sometimes. What about you? Well, I just mean like it's hard to know that just because I'm feeling good, I'm actually doing good. You know? I've been trying to understand that balance.
Merch and me. Merch and me. Merch and me. Merch and me. Merch and me.
So what I'm seeing is that we have this crazy relationship with content. Like the way that we come to understand the world now is in this little like screen, you know? And the thing is, we're really in a new situation. The way that the human consciousness is kind of globalizing here, because previously, information didn't travel like that. The value of books, the value of a library was, crucial. And it's because there was no other way to actually have the information. We're so abundant with information now, there's way more information than we could ever actually go through. So it's very easy to kind of collectively forget that that's brand new, like that just got here. And what I'm interested in is that the content we're interacting with is actually made by, oftentimes you could say, each other, like fellow consumers. Previously, the majority of content we'd engage in, media and information, it was strictly limited to these billion-dollar corporations. And what's interesting now is that those corporations still own the channels that we go through, but it's almost like anyone can now have like their own show, their own nightly show, their own daily show, their own production, because companies like Disney, are spending millions of dollars on like remaking Star Wars, and no matter how much money they put into it, it can't generate what iShowSpeed can generate just by being himself and being new and being young and being open and honest. And one thing I think that's happening is that scripted content is seemingly a lot less valuable. Things are moving so fast now. I think people are very interested in looking at real people because of the context that exists in. There's a reality to iShowSpeed stream, let's say. There's a reality to anyone engaging with something consequential. It exists outside of the script. So, yeah, you're watching that stream, but something can happen there that affects people and things outside of the stream. And with a movie or a TV show, it's kind of contained. It's like a individual event. But the thing about reality is it's interwoven, like reality TV is a really interesting idea. Because with this whole influencer culture, it's like, it literally changes the way we see things. Like people would put on skinny jeans, like really skinny jeans, people who are like stocky dudes, and they would be like, yeah, this looks good. And that's because of the way that we see things is affected by our influences. So like Kanye wore Haitian lane jeans, and everyone now, is wearing tights, and no one is like actually engaging with these silhouettes and proportions organically. It's very much influenced by the this idea of influence. I feel like for a lot of history, your influences were the people directly around you. Like your family, nature, like survival. These are the things influencing your day-to-day decision making and how you view the world. And over time, as we, became a society and became a civilization, people started working together. So people fulfilled different roles, and slowly we got a role that is kind of arbiter of information. The bearers of the times, if you will, the people who explain to the world what's going on. And even so, it wasn't until the printing press came out that you actually had this mass scale sort of sharing of information. One idea, one limited, concise kind of idea getting sent out and picked up by many, many people. But a lot of that it's antiquated. It's over, if you will. Like, we would maybe, let's say, outsource information to a book. So you could have like an encyclopedia, and if you like find a special type of stone and you want to figure out what it is, you can go through the encyclopedia. So you're outsourcing, that you're taking that away from your brain and putting it into a book. Storing the idea, storing the thought. But now it's like with the phone, we have in our pocket, we kind of have this like storage of everything. So it totally reshapes the way we try to understand things, and it's totally now blurring lines. Like social media initially was just our friends. It's the company started as a way to engage with people you saw in real life, and then you could keep up with them. But now the predominant thing everyone is interacting with is people they don't know in real life and people they don't see in real life. So we're moving to a place where there's these kind of limited sections, these limited voices that express ideas. And that's exactly why and where I have an idea, a solution. And I'm starting a company called White Rock, because the issue I see is that when you have these different figures arise currently in the media landscape, it's built on an incentive structure that is exploitative in nature. It is fundamentally, it is playing a game of attention, where their business model is more attention equals more money. And the reason that generates money is they sell the attention. That's what advertising is today. That's what people are doing. They're selling attention. So you pay a podcast because they're good at keeping people's attention. They're entertaining. So then you pay them $10,000 to talk about your product because they have people's attention. And the limits, of how to interact are, the bandwidth is just minimum now. Like, I can post this and theoretically 1 million people could see it right now, and theoretically no people could see it right now. But what it's very dependent on is the algorithm. And that's where I'm looking to find a way to fulfill this idea of making entertaining content the most engaging thing, but rather than taking an approach of exploiting the consumer. I want to actually, fundamentally in its nature, bring value to the consumer. So make content that, yes, it is engaging and it's exciting, but it's also informative, and it's taking different sections of the library and bringing them together, so that if someone wants to, like the content opportunities of, let's say, Star Wars had hired a bunch of different people to film like the behind the scenes and how they make the outfits and how they scored the music and how they do all these different things. And they did do that, and they sold it in like a bonus DVD. But today, in today's world, if you were able to do that, create all of this, let's say, reality TV, this unscripted content that is associated with the scripted content, where there's still room to create your own context and build worlds and not be limited, both can exist. But then if someone really likes the material, they can actually learn from it. They can, there's a weight, there's an importance, it's proven in a sense to something if you know that this is a real thing that you engage with positively and you can break that down. That's way better than like a hypothetical student project or building out a hypothetical concept or idea as far as learning, because you don't know if you have an idea that's good or not yet. First you need to understand what goes into making a thing, whether it be the music or the fashion or the whatever, and that's where I want to start White Rock, and I want to start ACE, a collaborative effort where the way you have these massive consulting firms of the past, I want to kind of have a similar thing where different companies and different content creators come to a company like us, and we provide them with the horizontal integration, the people who know how to make product, the people who know how to do high level production, the people who know how to edit, the people who know how to do on the ground campaigns, marketing materials, script writing, whatever a content creator, a person who's on the internet needs, giving them that. And that is the service. We are the agency that someone comes to monetize their content in a way where they don't have to do a DraftKings ad or a Blue Chew ad or sell some product that, has nothing to do with why we're there. It's like blending the Star Wars and the product. It's like, imagine you're watching a movie and there's like an ad read in the middle of it. Like, that's not right. But if you're watching a movie and then they sell like the Balenciaga leather jacket that the main character's wearing, like, that's a hit. That's a way to communicate a product in a whole new way, where, we're paying for attention to sell a product. Why not find a way to have the product naturally garner attention? And the reason I think White Rock, that idea is so essential here, is because we have been cornered into a situation of being exploited for our time. We have to have a phone, pretty much. We have to have a phone number. That's how we contact people. And so when you get your phone, it's automatically connected, to this infinite, endless abyss specifically formulated to keep you there. And that's something we hear a lot, but there's a real emphasis to that. Google used to be like, you go to google.com, right? And there's an empty page, and then whatever you want, you get to find. Now it's the opposite. You open up the app, and whatever the hell they can do to keep you there is what they're going to show you. And it's doing that on an extremely high level. Using data and mathematics and science at a crazy scale. And the average person doesn't really have a choice, because if we're mostly doing that, it's like, even if I want to go just hang out with people, oftentimes they're on their phone. And I'm hopeful and I'm optimistic that people are learning to set that boundary. The younger generations have a better relationship with these devices, but I envision a situation where the device is truly a tool, and we give the consumers the option to engage with content that is valuable and that is informative, and then instead of having to spend $4 billion on marketing like Nike, we can reduce our overhead drastically because the marketing budget is synonymous with the actual budget of production. It's one and the same. Therefore, the consumer ends up with a better product. They end up understanding more about the production of that product and the tools of the world, shipping, logistics, manufacturing, whatever it is. They can engage with the product in a way where they actually have a deep understanding of what it is, and they know where it came from, and they know, why things are the way they are. And we can build a world where things are worthy of being referential. Things have a conceptual weight to them that's beyond, oh, I just need to sell something to make money to pay the people who work here. It's the other way around. It's a bunch of people who have skill sets, creatives who are basically at the whim of YouTube and Instagram and TikTok, who basically work for those companies, giving them a platform and a space to have a consistent salary, have a consistent means, a paycheck, the same way you would for a consultant. But in exchange for that, they're working on different projects within the network, within the community, that can bring us to a high level of production and a high level of community and a high level of content, which can sustain itself without having to take outsider revenue and outsider advertising money, because that's where private equity has too much control over our minds. And the content we're seeing, all of these people who are not our friends necessarily, it's people we don't know, it's being done in a way to just put us into categories that are easy to sell to. We're consciously and purposefully being moved into specific demographics, where it's too easy to have a situation, let's say, where someone puts on ridiculously baggy jeans and people don't even know what they're looking at, and then 2 years later, if you wear skinny jeans, you just look ridiculous. The perception can change in real time, So if we can curate a perception that can accurately determine, navigate, and understand value and understand the marketplace, that's really interesting. Both the marketplace of ideas, that concept, this competition of what's the most worthy thing to engage with, the democratic marketplace of ideas, and then the real actual marketplace of our purchasing power and how we spend our money. Both of those can kind of come together in a way where the best ideas and the best content actually can generate the most money, because they're not in a context, in a space that is exploitative. So if you're doing things that are really valuable to the consumer, but it's hard for YouTube or TikTok to make money off it, that's, a situation where you're not going to be rewarded. So we can't be at the whim of these companies necessarily. I think people need to take the power in their own hands, and that's where I envision a world where everyone has their own website, and that's the real Web3, and that's the digital real estate. The way you check up on your friend is you just go to their website, just like a MySpace, and on their website they can talk about their day, they can, post their pictures, but they're not forced to follow specific guidelines and specific rules. They can actually, build their own world and document their own life however they want to, and interact with their friends and family however they want to, and, completely, new era of portfolio and resume and understanding each other's characters and allowing ourselves you know, the ability to actually use this digital era in our advantage as a tool, not as something that is predatory. You know, it's that's the gist of White Rock. That's like the gist of why I need to start a company to combat private equity by competing in the same marketplaces, leveraging and capitalizing on the Wild West nature of content today and these social media platforms, because they're competing with each other to keep people's attention. So if you can make content that keeps people's attention, all of these platforms will reward you because that's what they need. So White Rock needs to go in there, do that, and then bring people away from those predatory apps and allow them the ability to engage directly with their favorite, you know, influencer or their friends or their families eventually, to a situation where we have conscious awareness and decision of what we put in front of us with the technology. We no longer in a situation where we go into, you know, we just jump into this randomness. We jump into this like, okay, what do you got? Like that idea of not actually having control of the content you're watching, just being like, this is the thing that's entertaining. No, like what if it's like, what do I want to watch right now? And then bang, bang, bang. And now, you know, with no bullshit, no one trying to sell you anything, you have the ability to find something really interesting and cool about the thing you were thinking about, like an encyclopedia. Gamifying life. You know, it's almost like the way in a video game you have stats like 2K, you have the different sliders. It's like, you know, okay, if I go through all these things and understand them, I got like, you know, 99 understanding of Margella. You know, if I go through all of the different aspects of what it takes for a product to manifest, then that person will probably have a really good understanding of logistics in a way that will practically and in a tangible, real way, help them make more money and live a good life, because money is the way that we, you know, get stuff. What about you? Well, that's the thing. I need to be the MVP. I need to be the minimum viable product, like the example, if you will. So it's like, since we all have access to the internet, I'm looking at the internet as like the new app, the app. Like that's the ultimate app. Forget all the other apps. So it's like, if you want to listen to music, you just go to like artist.com, you know, samtree.com, and then bang, there's my album. But you can interact with it in a really cool way, where maybe, okay, I really like this song. You know, you can actually click, okay, here's all the different stems, here's all the different pieces of it. You know, oh, here's an early demo. Oh, here's an even earlier demo. Oh, here's the original voice note. Wow, so it went from this to this to, and right there, you know, no one even needs to explain it necessarily. You're learning. You're seeing the actualization. You know, showing, not telling. So it's not, first you open this, and then you do this, and then you, no, it's like actually doing it, actually showing it, because we have the visual dimension. You know, the printing press, it was limited to text. And then if you wanted pictures, ink, you know. And in video, it still had a lot of limits between actually filming something and then putting it on a screen. There was a lot of processing that had to go on. Now it's like instant, you know, we have the visual dimension in our pocket. So if we really take advantage of that, we no longer need to be so focused on words. You know, we can more so present ideas holistically, with sound, words, and visuals working together. You know, and eventually even sensory. You know, if it's a product and you actually buy it, that's a, you know, cover the opportunity. It's like OnlyFans, but there's only one fan, and the payments are over a very long period of time, and you typically would have a family together. you have a talent for this. You got a knack for this. And I want to put you in a position to capitalize. You know, I know you like been out of work for a while. Arch, you just got to put yourself out there, man. I'll be your co-host, you know? No, it's totally your thing, dude. I'll be practically behind the scenes. You know, it's like I'm not even there. You see what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to do it. Let's run. You got it? Let's do it. No, I think you did great. I think you did a good job. Well, it's White Rock because, like, the relationship between private equity and our day-to-day lives and decision making is becoming increasingly bad. So I want to offer the contrast where it's not that I'm working against, you know, I'm not working against the dark. I'm just providing the light. So it's like eventually a company that is majority owned by BlackRock, like a Nike or like a, you know, Apple or something, would still go through White Rock in order to communicate their product, because it's almost like unionizing, really. It's almost like a way of protecting people's rights as the arbiters of the times. And, you know, exposure over education, love over fear, faith, hope, belief, understanding. Oh, brother. You stay out of this, alright? Push back, but not too much. Make sure you're not interrupting me, you know? Any final words for the people? For bonus clips, behind the scenes footage, and more, go to samtree.tv for free exclusive content. If you like this video, please try to leave a like and any feedback you can in the comments. I'm trying my best to have fun, be unique, be original, and I want to do it together.